and I want to talk today about toxic family dynamics. The reality is, for most trauma survivors, their core trauma comes from their family of origin. They were raised by individuals that were emotionally immature, or they were raised by individuals that were harsh, caregivers that were abandoning, that were neglectful, that neglected their emotional needs. I received one message today from a woman said her narcissistic mother made a comment to her, who is going through a divorce, by the way. She said, "I'm not surprised your ex was suicidal. Anyone would be miserable being married to a B like you." And that was her comment to her daughter. It's not uncommon that she would make harsh comments like this to her adult daughter. It's not uncommon for narcissistic, egopathic parents to say things that are invalidating, soul crushing. And they have all kinds of little techniques, and we'll talk about some of their techniques for how they control and manipulate the family dynamic. And so you may be aware of some of these techniques, but we find ourselves wondering, how can I survive the toxic family dynamic? This comes up especially for many. For instance, in the United States, it's common to celebrate holidays around this time, which means it's customary that people will be with their family more often, or they may have the desire or the craving or the tradition to be with their family. But then it creates some dissonance when we know that for our mental health, we have to have some distance from our family. But at the same time, culturally, it would seem inappropriate that we wouldn't be with our family when it is the holidays. So it leaves many puzzled with questions. How can I survive these dynamics? Am I being too harsh in distancing myself from my family? What are the skills needed to be able to be around these people so that I can be there for my nieces and my nephews who are innocent, or for the other kids in the family, or people that aren't as toxic? And so we'll address some of these toxic dynamics and what we can really do, how we can really survive in these situations. We have to remember what our number one goal is. And this needs to be kept in mind. Our number one goal in life is not actually to please our family, right? It may have been your number one goal when you were a child, and that's acceptable. A child should want the approval of the family, ordinarily speaking. That would be healthy for the development of the child. But now that you are an adult, we want to re-examine what role the family has in your life and in your mind and in your heart, because in order to be healthy, to heal, and to stay healthy, we need to have boundaries and limitations on people, especially those who have proven to be toxic in the past. Boundaries and limitations. Well, that sounds scary. How are we supposed to set boundaries and limitations with our own mom, or our father, or grandparents? The reality is, for you as an adult, you should view yourself as a little sovereign nation, right? So you are a ruler over your personal resources. Your resources like time, energy, your beauty, your body, right? Your talents, your capacities, your abilities, your money, your resources, your house, your car. Those things belong to you. So you are the ruler of those things. Besides having the authority, you have the responsibility to protect them. So it is up to you to decide if you will allow people to exploit you or exploit those things, if you allow them to have access to you or your resources, which include your children that are minor. So how do we make sure that people don't just come in and take and plunder all of our resources. The painful reality is that we live in a world where there are lots of people who would be happy to plunder our resources. They would be happy to take all of our time and our energy and our children and everything we have. And unfortunately, some of these people may be in our family. They may be very close to us, like our brothers, our sisters, our parents. And it's so strange to us that someone would want what we have, because we may have adapted to find ourselves to be invisible and to put all of our emphasis on everyone else, because that's how we survived as a child. Don't worry about me. I'm nothing. Don't worry about me back here. I'm no big deal. I just do whatever everybody else needs me to do. I am here for you. Does anyone need anything? You might snap into that servant role as soon as you go over your parents' house, immediately fixing everyone something to drink. You're up, right? In your culture, you may say, I can't just go in and sit down. That would be totally inappropriate for a woman in my culture, for instance. But whatever the case, we want to make sure that we're not reverting back to childhood when we visit our parents or family. We want to remember now that things have changed. You are an adult, and you are the sovereign, the ruler, the authority of your resources. Once we understand that, then we can understand better boundaries, because boundaries are rules or decrees, limitations that we create to protect our resources. That is what a boundary is. You should memorize that definition. A boundary is a rule or a limitation that you create to protect your resources. It is necessary to set boundaries. It is your responsibility to set the boundaries. You create them, you make them up. Since you're the boss, you're the ruler of your resources, you get to make them up anytime you want. You can change them anytime. But it's a kindness if you will actually inform others of these rules, because if you don't, it can be very confusing to them if you suddenly start enforcing rules that they didn't know existed. So you have to tell them, excuse me, I don't like to be touched like that. This conversation is making me feel uncomfortable. What was it you wanted me to do? I think I'm going to have to leave you to find someone else to do that. That's not a me thing to do. No, thank you. I wouldn't be interested. You guys go ahead. All of these are examples of just setting a boundary. And how am I doing that? How am I able to just tell people where to go and how to back up? It's because I'm aware of me. I can see myself. I know where my boundaries are because I understand what my resources are. One of the best indications of when a boundary or value is being violated is feelings, emotions. That's what your emotions actually are. They are a communication from your subconscious mind, your computer system, letting you know that it detects that one of your values is being violated, or that something is aligning with the value. So it gives you the emotion according to how the outside world is interacting with your values and your perception. So when you receive an emotional impulse, you need to be aware of the emotion. This means you need to slow down and be meditative or mindful, which means that you're actually going to listen to yourself. You're going to listen to your body, listen to the emotion, the impulse, the feeling. How can I hear my body? How can I feel my feelings when I got all these people around me and they're demanding attention and they're waiting for a response? How am I supposed to slow down? Remember, your responsibility is not primarily to please your family. That's not your purpose on this earth. Your primary responsibility is to care for you. You were given you. We forget that we're a whole human being to care for. We can see our children, but we forget that we're supposed to care for ourselves. We can see our spouse, but we forget that we're supposed to care for ourselves. Your primary job is to care for yourself. You put the oxygen mask on yourself first before even assisting small children. Why? Because you will die in the process of trying to assist someone else, and then you can assist no one. It's not in everyone's best interest for you to put everyone above yourself. You must first take care of yourself, then you can take care of others. Does that make sense? So understanding your primary purpose is to care for the self, then you can stop and be meditative when you're feeling the pressure of the outside family. Think of the acronym STOP, be still, be thoughtful, be observant, be patient. This allows you to be mindful in the moment, to freeze out everything else, and to listen to the self. What are the emotions I'm feeling right now? Ooh, I didn't like what my uncle just said. I didn't like the way my aunt phrased that. Only when we're paused and we're meditative and mindful can we actually access this awareness. And when we realize when we don't like something because it's violating to us, or that our resources or our values are potentially in danger or under attack, then we know, I think I'm going to set a boundary here. I think I'm going to make up a rule, a limitation, and I'm going to state that limitation. And then we say, you guys go ahead. I'm not going to be coming with you. No, thank you. I'm not going to participate in that. You guys go ahead and do that. I don't want to do that. Now you're setting a boundary, a limitation. What does this do? It protects the self. Protecting your space, time, energy, resources protects this, your mental health. The mind is one of the most valuable things we have. What are we going to do without our mind? So therefore, we can't afford to lose it. So we have to protect it with everything we got. So be still, be thoughtful, be observant, be patient, and employ skills and techniques when you deal with toxic behavior. Let's take some examples of toxic behavior that can come up in the family. Let's take the example of codependency. Codependency is where a member of the family is enabling or overly supportive of negative behavior or addiction. So someone in the family is overly supportive of the narcissist or overly supportive of the addict in the family. And then we try to step in and go, Mom, you can't keep supporting Dad. You can't keep enabling Dad. Mom, Dad, why do you let Mom get away with that? Well, not anymore. If someone in the family is codependent, you should not try to help them, change them, fix them. Why? Because then that makes you codependent. If you try to step in and help them, fix them, and change, that is codependent behavior. That's the whole problem. We have to stop thinking that we can change other people. You cannot change other people. You can barely even help them only under the circumstances that they want help. That's the only time you can actually help a person. If you are qualified to give the help and they want the help, then you could actually help a person. But if those circumstances don't exist, take a step back and draw a line, the boundary line. The boundary line creates the outside of the self. It's like a border of a country. You need to recognize, oh, Mom is a country, Dad is a country. And yes, I can see that Dad is plundering Mom's resources, but I cannot get involved because I need to protect my mental health and my resources. That's my main job. If Mom asks for some help or a suggestion, I can offer a suggestion. But other than that, I need to separate myself. See, when we detach emotionally from that whole dynamic in that situation, we protect our energy. Does that make sense? All right, but what about when you get the parents that are critical constantly with a negative, critical remark. Oh, I thought you would have lost a little more weight by now. Oh, I thought that sweater doesn't look too nice on you. All that criticism. What should we do? If you have members of your family that are critical, you have to treat them exactly as you would treat any person that you meet that is overly critical. You see, our body is made up of 85% nitrogen, oxygen, right? So we have 15% carbon. What happens if the carbon in the body gets above 15%? It's toxic, all right? At toxic levels, the carbon in your body can shut down your organs, cause you to suffocate. You could go into a coma. You can actually die from too much carbon in the body. That's exactly how the ratio between positive energy and negative energy works in the body as well. You need 85% neutral positive energy. It's got to be 85% neutral positive energy. It's got to be feeling good. This is your thoughts are your energy, the thoughts. So you got to be thinking, I'm great, I'm good, I'm feeling great, doing good, I'm going to be good, it's going to be great, I'm strong, I'm capable, I can. 85%. And then you can have neutral thoughts such as, it's Wednesday. Oh, that's a sandwich on the counter. That's fine. But you can only handle 15% criticism max. And so the same rule has to apply to people in your life. If someone is coming at you and more than 15% of what they have to say is critical, you got to cut them out. Snip, snip, they're gone. If anything more, if they get beyond the 15% criticism threshold, you got to cut them out. Disengage, pull the shades down, turn off the conversation, move away. Get away from them. Why? Because 25% negative energy, 25% negative thoughts about the self, anything over 15% is toxic to your system, and it will cause you poor mental health. It'll manifest itself in shame, low self-worth, low self-esteem, feelings of worthlessness. None of that is good. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help you to have that stuff. It doesn't help you. And it feels awful. So you must immediately disengage. What is that going to look like? Well, it can look 1,000 different ways because the criticism can come at you so many different ways. But you're going to need to be strong and not be afraid to be mean. Okay? Just, you got the outline of the self. Protect your mind. You cannot let in negativity. So sometimes people are coming critical and you have to interrupt them and say, oh, excuse me, I'm so sorry. I don't appreciate what you're saying right now. And then physically remove yourself from that vicinity, from that conversation. Sometimes we can just escape without having to tell them what our problem is with them, because we already know they have a background of being toxic. So we can just get out of there, leave the kitchen, leave the living room, maybe leave the house. That would be my preference. You have to limit your time around someone who's going to give you more than 15% critical energy. Even when someone criticizes you, it's got to be from a place of love and constructive. Just making little comments about my weight and my body and my clothes and my job, just making little comments about my relationship, that's just negative. It has nothing positive to give me, or there's nothing to gain from that. So I have the responsibility to separate myself from that. And so that's exactly what I'll do. I'll just step away. What if someone in the family tries to be controlling of your decisions, your actions? Usually they're using criticism to be controlling, right? And so, oh, you picked that school. Oh, you decided to go to that. Oh, you decided to stop going to school. Oh, you decided that you're gonna. Oh, just controlling. Hey, why don't you come over here? No, 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 don't do that. They're just controlling. They always want to be in control of your thoughts and actions. How can you respond to that? Do you think that it's healthy for us as the beings we are to allow another human to control us? When you think about it, is another human actually qualified to control you? In reality, you are already given a keen mind. You have the ability to control the self. So this is not something that we farm out or outsource to another person. We don't allow people to control us. But if we are not strongly boundaried, it's almost like we're teaching people, oh yeah, it's okay. You can just jump in and you can control me. So we have to be very strongly boundaried. When someone attempts to control us, we need to either resist their control or we need to evade them completely to get out of their reach, get out of their viewpoint, and just separate ourselves. It's very important that we are very clearly, distinctly detached from all the members of our family as a separate individual. The feeling of connection doesn't come from enmeshment. It doesn't come from being controlled. The feeling of connection comes from being yourself and having a moment where you're relating to another person in a healthy manner. So don't allow someone to overtake you or to control you. Resist when someone tries to control you, and disengage, get out of situations where someone's trying to be controlling. So what about when someone just outright lies? They tell lies about you or to you, about what you did or what someone else did. When someone is just a liar. Well, we talk about that energy that comes into the brain, how we got to protect our energy, protect our mind. If someone is a liar, what should we do? You should disregard every single thing they say because they are a liar. And so the words that are coming out of their mouth have already proven to be worthless at best, typically toxic, because lies are a part of poison. It's toxic. It's not good for yourself. You see, at the root of mental illness is believing things that are not true. So when you have family members that try to lie or tell you things that are not true, that is no good for you. So you must shut out the lies, block out the lies, and not listen to anything negative or detrimental that someone is trying to tell you. You have to have a very strong mind and repudiate. That is to reject something that someone's telling you that's not good. Along with the lies, you got the gaslighting. Gaslighting is a form of mental abuse where you try to make a person believe that they are actually mentally ill, crazy, that they've lost touch with reality. So then you deny their reality. And then we use that term gaslighting for people who are denying your reality. So whatever happened, they tell you it didn't happen like that. I'm like, oh yeah, actually, no, I paid for dinner yesterday. You didn't pay for dinner. I paid for dinner. No, I paid for it. No, you didn't pay. And you're sitting here in an argument with this person. No, what should we do? Someone's lying, gaslighting. What do we do with gaslighters? If you notice that someone is a gaslighter, you should immediately disengage from the conversation. You should detach from them emotionally. You should believe nothing they say. You should pack your belongings, and you should get yourself out of the house. Gaslighting is extremely dangerous and abusive. It is a form of mental abuse, and no person should try to withstand being gaslit. Should you defend yourself? No, you should not engage. Defending yourself is engaging. You should remove yourself from the conversation, and as soon as humanly possible, get out of the vicinity of that person. Gaslighting is extremely toxic and abusive. It is mental abuse. Someone who is willing to try to make you doubt your own sanity, to doubt your reality, that is so dangerous to your health and your well-being. So don't argue. Don't engage into an argument. There's a training, how to evade arguments. One of the first rules in the training, it's on my YouTube. Go to the YouTube, Roman Zanoni, how to evade arguments. Type that right into YouTube, it comes up. One of the first rules, it'll tell you. Don't defend yourself. Well, how am I supposed to not defend myself when people are saying all these crazy things about me and to me? It is a control tactic. It is a control mechanism. That's how they get you in. They say things that get under your skin. They say things that bother you so that you will be, I have to argue. If you don't take the bait, then you will not be controlled. It is a control mechanism. So don't fall for it. Don't take the bait. Evade the argument. And there's all these techniques on how to evade arguments in that training. How to evade arguments, it's on YouTube. You can also find the training in the trauma healing course. What if someone is invalidating to your emotions or your feelings? Again, someone who's invalidating, is that the type of person who's building up your well-being, your self-worth, your mental health? Think about it. If someone is invalidating, then that's your indication that this is another person you need to go no contact with. Really? We have to go no contact with someone who's invalidating of our thoughts and opinions? Yes. Yeah. We need to go way less severely declined to no contact with someone who is invalidating, because it's not good for you. It's not good for your mental health. You have to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with people who are validating. And if you don't have anyone like that, then you need to be alone so that you can validate yourself. Being with people who are invalidating is detrimental to your well-being. What about if it's someone who is a boundary crosser? They don't respect your boundaries. And what should you do? If someone doesn't respect your boundaries, you have two things that you can do. You can reassert the boundary, or you can enforce the boundary. Reasserting the boundary is to restate what it is. Hey, this is my boundary line. This is what we need to do. It's done. You're restating it. To enforce a boundary means to take the actual action that happens as a result of them crossing the boundary to further protect yourself. This is typically going to be removing your presence. So those are your two moves. If someone's crossing boundaries, you can enforce the boundary, or you can reassert the boundary. You cannot do anything else. Only those two things when someone crosses a boundary. There is no other appropriate action. You should never allow a boundary to be crossed. You can just reassert it, or you can enforce it. Does that make sense? We want that to be very clear. This is very important for mental health. Can you see how strong you have to actually be to walk into these family dynamic situations? There was one question here. If we go no contact, do we need to let them know? Do we need to inform them that we're going no contact with them? No, that would be breaking your no contract. Don't break your no contact. Just go no contact. Don't talk to them. What's important is that you're limiting their access to you and you're limiting your intake of their negative energy. That's the problem. They are toxic. So when someone is physically ill, we quarantine away from them, right? You have to do the same thing with the mental illness. Sometimes you have to quarantine so you can actually see what it is they have, and then stay separate so that their bad energy doesn't affect your bad energy. I mean, your energy, and become your bad energy as a result. Does all this stuff make sense? Sometimes when there's people in our family who are presenting that there's a problem and they're being mean to us, or they're not talking to us, all these weird things they do with the stonewalling and all this. And we feel so anxious about the issue that it seems to exist between us and the sibling, or us and this other person. And we wonder, should I try to fix it? Should I try to go in and say, hey, what's the problem? Should I try to work it out? Or should I go to therapy with my family and try to fix it? The answer is unequivocally no. You should not try to fix it. Why can we be so sure? Well, you see, it actually takes two to fix an issue between two parties. If they're not putting in the effort to fix it, then you should not try to put in the effort to fix it. If they're not calling you saying, hey, I don't really like to fix things between us, then you shouldn't be trying to call them saying, hey, do you want to fix things between us? That doesn't make sense. You can use the law of reciprocation. What they do, you can match the same energy. If they don't text you, then just don't text them. If they don't call you, then just don't call them. If they just say hi really quick and then walk away and be all weird, then just say hi to them and just move on with your life. If they get up and leave when you walk into the room, just talk to everyone else in the room and don't ignore their existence. Match that energy, reciprocate, because it's going to be toxic for you to be trying to chase after them. This is a game that they play to try to draw you in, make you feel guilty. Don't feel guilty about anything. There's no need. It's not helpful to the self. Oftentimes we do wonder what our actual responsibility is when it comes to our family members, and we feel like, but it's my family, For instance, if they invite me over, I have to go because it's my family. If there's a problem, we have to try to fix it. We have to make it work because we're family, and we're family is all we have. Like, my family is all I have. My mom's all I have. My brothers are all I have, right? So you have this way of thinking about things where you feel like so desperate and so attached to the family, right? But we need to adjust our mindset. You shouldn't say, well, my family is all I have. Speaking like that creates desperation to your subconscious mind, so that if you were to lose them, then you're going to be flooded with all these painful chemicals because you elevated their importance to they are all I have. So change the wording. Even if you're having a good relationship with a family member, don't say they are all I have. Say, I am blessed to have my relationship with them. I'm so happy to have my family. That's first of all, but you have yourself. So someone else is not all you have. That's neglectful of yourself. And it could be, depending on your beliefs, neglectful to your relationship with your creator. So don't say some one person or some people are all you have. The second thing is try to keep in mind that these siblings and this mother and this father and these aunts and these uncles, like this extended family that you feel like you owe, and that is so important and it's so crucial that you have your place in this family and you keep close to this family. Remember that it's actually all kind of random. Your true family are the people who you choose and who share your values and who support you. That's your true family. Your true family is not the amalgamation of persons that came together because two teenagers back in the 70s got together and made love and then started creating children. And now you're with all these random kids that were born to these two young people that got together. And now you're supposed to predicate your entire life around being ride or die for this group of people that were put together by these two teenagers or 20-year-olds. You're supposed to base your entire life over a decision they made 20, 30, 40 years ago. Don't over escalate the importance of the genetic family. There's a randomness to it. You were born in it, you came out of it, and you might realize that there's some Cains to your Abel. In other words, there's some rough characters that came out of that family unit, and there was some trauma, and people didn't have good mental health, and parents were emotionally immature or just totally immature in many ways. You are here, you've survived. If you are an adult, you do not owe your family anything. You do not owe them. You are not made to be a slave to the family unit for the rest of your life. That doesn't make sense, because they gave you 18 years of what they owed you for having made you in the first place. That doesn't make sense. You don't owe them for the rest of your life. If your family's cool, they're non-toxic, then enjoy. It's a benefit, it's a blessing. It's a luxury to have connections to extended family members. But if your family's toxic, like for most of us, disconnect. Don't be afraid to disconnect. Don't feel guilty. Take care of yourself. That is your primary responsibility. To that end, I'm happy to announce that tomorrow there will be the release of an ebook entitled How to Survive Family Dynamics. It's going to be a special guide that you can carry with you on your phone, and you can pull up the various things that your family might be doing, such as guilt tripping, ignoring reality, insensitivity, inconsistency, invalidation, lack of accountability, lack of boundaries, lack of empathy, manipulation, moving the goalposts, neglect, ostracism, passive aggression, playing the victim. It'll be all in alphabetical order. Nearly 40 different toxic family dynamics, and it will give you a little blurb on how to respond to these family dynamics. Keep you in the right mindset. That will be available on the website tomorrow. So everyone who's in this call, everyone who's listening to this call will be able to download a copy of this ebook for free. So I'm so happy to share that with you.